Stephen Silas, a brand new era. We should mention he was actually a finalist for the Rockets job when Mike D'Antoni got it. D'Antoni's out. Silas is in. You just heard Woj say he can
4
deal.
years ago?
Yeah, about 4 or 5 years ago. He can deal with big-time personalities. But, Jay, you're saying right now what the Rockets need to deal with is deciding, are they a contender or what are they planning to do with so much money tied up in two dudes?
Well, that's the question. Look, this team has talent. They doubled down, tripled down with small ball with Daryl Morey. It did not work out. Now you have a new head coach. Even though he has incredible experience, worked with Luka Doncic, has worked with a lot of big-time players, Stephen Curry as well. I guess the question is, will this style of basketball work? And if not, what tradable assets do you have that can make you change up what your new style is going to be? So if you're looking to market, Russell Westbrook and James Harden are due $80 million next year. So what are the tradable assets? And the biggest asset that you have is probably Russell Westbrook. Now, I'm not saying to break these two up, but if you're going to run it back with small ball, you have to change up the style in which you play. You need to get James Harden to buy into that. I don't know what pieces that will require in order for Houston to come out of the West, but let's be real about it, guys. The West is loaded. The West is loaded. I know people use that argument, well, look what happened to the Bucks this year and other teams that came out. But, look, this year was unprecedented. We played in the bubble. It didn't work out that way. But Houston, can you win with small ball is a question. I don't think you can. It's been proven.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they'll be coming out of the West. That's for damn sure. I think when you look at the teams that's there, whether it's the Lakers or the Clippers or Golden State or Denver or Utah and Dallas is there. And so how do you run it back? This was invented by Daryl Morey for Mike D'Antoni. This is what they wanted to do. They won a lot of games doing it.
They did.
But I don't see where they're going to improve by running it back. I think what you try and do in this situation is you try to just rebuild with some assets, whether it's both gone or one gone. Who can you get the most value for? Is it a Westbrook to the New York Knicks because of the snack, crackle, pop and some of the things that he adds to the equation? Is it a James Harden to potentially maybe a Giannis connection in Milwaukee?
Wow. To
pair that up, and maybe you get future assets from Milwaukee because of that. I don't know where it pushes them at in terms of luxury tax and if they're willing to do all of those sort of things. But I think those two together, and I said it from the beginning, I never thought that those two together would ever work in terms of winning a championship and bringing a championship to Houston.
Well, that's what I said. If you're James Harden, how patient are you? How patient are you? You're 31 years old. All right, are you looking to rebuild at this stage of your career? And also, the last time the Rockets have selected in the first round has been since 2015. That was Sam Decker. Wow. They have no selections in this year's NBA draft.
Wow.
So, Jay,
right? So it's like, how are you moving somebody? If you're James Harden, what moves are we making for me to win in the next couple of years? If we can't make those moves, then is it time for James Harden to think about going somewhere else if he wants to win a championship?
So if you move, I mean, I'm just assuming, let's say you move Westbrook, what are you getting back in return that's championship worthy to pair with James Harden?
You clear out some cap space. You clear out some cap space. Maybe you get an Alfred Payton. Maybe you get a Kevin Knox. Some teams that maybe some guys you can have maybe for a year, but then they come off your books. Bobby Portis maybe.
Yeah, but now I'm 31, dog. Now you making me 32. I'm James Harden,
or
right?
You use all those assets and you try to lure somebody else into a bigger trade for a bigger time free agent. But you're also going to.
But my question to you
also need to change up the style of basketball you have to play. You can't play small ball anymore.
But who are you getting that's big that I could pair with James Harden to win a championship, right? Like, who are you getting that? Like, you're talking about trading for expiring contract or a guy who's up, so you could trade for a Giannis to come to a Houston, opposed to him going to Milwaukee.
Yeah, I don't know if I would see Giannis ever go to Houston. I think Giannis is probably going to stay in Milwaukee. But
I'm saying
I hear what you're saying.
A big-time player, though. I'm just trying to think who you going to get.
To be in the West, though, you probably want to try to keep Harden, Westbrook, and then try to bring in a third piece. Like Robert Covington is talented. PJ Tucker is talented. But this team is really, really small.
But we've seen them with a third piece, right? We've seen Siakam. We've seen Chris Paul. We've seen James Harden.
What do you mean?
We saw them together. And they had
with CP3?
Yeah, with CP3.
Well, CP3 and James Harden, yeah, they were. I mean,
And we saw them together. We saw all three of them together.
The question is Eric Gordon, like, is he that player that can take you to the next level? But he's been injury plagued. He's been plagued by injury. So and these are all the questions that this team has to address moving forward. And it does lead to the question if James Harden thinks he could win a world championship in Houston. It does. That's the question that you're going to ask yourself.
He's going to have to go get a top 5 dude to go with him, though. And that's hard to find.
That's hard to find right now.
It's hard to find any justification for what Justin Turner did. So what should the punishment be? We want to hear from you. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. I just want to put in one last word on Daryl Morey. And this is coming from a fan, not a guy that played in the NBA or a guy that played in the NFL. This dude could get the catch radius for key there. You got to make sure, in my opinion, this guy could be my GM any day. Why? Yeah, he may ultimately never win an NBA championship, but he's always swinging for the fences. It's a lost stat. The Rockets have made the playoffs the last 8 years. Believe it or not, that's the longest playoff streak in the NBA. So, and some of these names you might laugh at because some of these guys were acquired over the course of his tenure. But if you're getting me Dwight Howard when Dwight was a thing, you're getting Chris Paul, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Clint Capella, Patrick Beverley, Montrezl Harrell. Some of those guys are bigger stars than others. But every single year, he looks at it and says, what can we do to get better? This dude made more trades with the Rockets than most guys will make in their entire career. He's always swinging for the fences. And if I'm not a Laker fan, or I'm not a Celtics fan, or I'm not a Warriors fan when they're back up, if I'm a fan of one of the other 27 teams in the league, I want that guy because he is going for it every single year.
And that's why I think I'm slowly becoming a fan of the 76ers. I picked them last year. I thought they were going to get to the championship. It didn't work out. But now with a guy like Daryl Morey, when that becomes official, can surround Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons with the right pieces to help them win a world championship.
Well said. Look at their roster right now. History says it won't look like that when the Sixers begin on day one.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.